You done fucked up talking about my dad.
Me and you fucked up by taking this fight.
Yeah.
That's right. To let him know that it can't happen again.
And what would you do if he did that again?
I said he wouldn't get his hand back if he puts it on me.
What does that mean?
It means what it means.
Tell me what that means.
I said it.
Conor Benn cleverly tried to attack Chris Eubank Jr. during the joint interview with Piers Morgan. In addition, Conor Benn has shut down suggestions that his father played a role in fueling any personal emotions against Chris Eubank Jr. Speaking on the matter, Benn explained that there was a time when a fight between them did not even seem possible, as they competed in different weight classes. However, as fate would have it, their careers eventually aligned, setting the stage for a highly anticipated showdown.
No, not at all. I mean, at one stage, it was looking impossible. It wasn't even a fight that was on our radars. You know, I'm a 147 fighter, he's a 160 fighter, and our paths just happened to cross. You talk about the stars align, you could say that.
However, Chris Eubank Jr. emphasized that he does not hate Conor Benn, explaining that he would never allow Benn to have that kind of influence over him. While he strongly disapproves of Benn's past actions, particularly regarding the use of PEDs, he clarified that his frustration is directed at the situation and what it represents rather than at Benn as an individual.
I don't hate this man. I would never give him that type of power over me. I hate what he stands for. I hate what he did. I hate what he represents. But as him as a person, I'm not gonna say I hate him.
Eubank Jr. further elaborated on his stance, stating that he does not hold hatred toward anyone. Instead, he emphasized the importance of setting an example, particularly in cases involving failed drug tests. In his view, the dangers of the sport are already severe, with fighters suffering serious injuries and even losing their lives. Because of this, he believes that anyone caught cheating must face consequences. They should be punished, embarrassed, and held accountable. According to Eubank, that is precisely what he has been doing in his approach to the situation with Benn.
I don't hate anybody. I've just got to make sure that we set an example here. You know, what he did in failing these 2 drugs tests, in my opinion, is unacceptable. As you said, people have been paralyzed, people have died. So for anybody who is out there thinking to cheat, they have to be made an example of. They have to be punished, they have to be embarrassed.
In response to Eubank's criticism, Conor Benn maintained that he has faced no formal penalties. He pointed out that he has been cleared by 3 different organizations. Benn emphasized that he has not been banned, fined, or subjected to any further sanctions, reinforcing his stance that he has done nothing wrong.
Every single one. I've not received a fine. I've been cleared by 3 organizations, by the NADP, the WBC, UCAD, no ban, cleared to fight, no fine.
Meanwhile, not satisfied with this reasoning, Eubank Jr. didn't hold back when addressing Benn's failed drug tests, stating that the only thing Benn could have done differently was simply not to fail them. In his view, once a fighter tests positive, they are branded a cheat for life, and there's no erasing it. Eubank took his stance even further, saying that even if someone had physically forced Benn into taking a banned substance, he would still consider him a cheat. He argued that it was Benn's responsibility to protect himself at all times, and since he failed to do so, there are no excuses in his eyes.
In my eyes, if someone was to have pinned him down and jabbed a syringe into the side of his ass and squeezed it in, if that had happened and I saw it, guess what? He's still a cheat. He shouldn't have let it happen. It's his responsibility to protect himself at all times. He didn't do that. He's a cheat.
Building on this intense scrutiny, boxing analyst Ade Oladipo weighed in on the heated rivalry, stating that little promotion is needed since the bad blood between Benn and Eubank Jr. runs deep. He pointed out that their fathers set the stage for this feud, and the 2 fighters have carried it forward with intensity, as seen in their recent confrontations.
Well, we don't need much more, do we? Yeah, it runs very deep between these 2. Obviously, look, the fathers kicked it off, and these 2 have carried the baton, and judging by that clip, they've carried it pretty well. well.
Oladipo, who has spoken with Ben multiple times, noted that Ben appears to have a deep resentment toward Eubank Jr. However, he suggested that Ben should set aside personal animosity, recognizing that Eubank is just as crucial to this fight as he is. According to Oladipo, their back and forth dynamic is what makes this matchup so compelling, and without Eubank, Ben wouldn't be in a fight of this magnitude.
They just work with each other. And funny, I've spoken to Conor so many times about this. He seems to have this hatred for Chris. I'm like, you need a dance partner. You need someone that's going to go back and forth with you. So almost park your hatred, because if it wasn't for Chris Eubank Jr., you're not going to be in this type of fight. Chris is making this fight, and so are you. I think they're doing it perfectly well.
Expanding on this dynamic, Oladipo also highlighted Eubank Jr.'s ability to command the spotlight during press conferences, calling him a master of the verbal exchanges. He noted that at times it feels less like a showdown between just Eubank and Ben, and more like Eubank taking on Eddie Hearn, Conor Benn, and even Nigel Benn all at once. According to Oladipo, Eubank has dominated every press event so far, outmaneuvering his opponents with his words. In his view, it's as if Eubank has already knocked out everyone in the war of words before even stepping into the ring.
Chris is the master of press conferences. Like, it's almost like Chris versus Eddie versus Conor versus Nigel, and I almost feel like he's beating every single one of them.
Everybody gets it.
Everyone's getting knocked out 10-8, 10-7.
Who's the bigger villain?
Adding to this observation, Oladipo also pointed out a shift in public perception, suggesting that Conor Benn has taken on the role of the bigger villain in this rivalry. He noted that Eubank Jr. has been receiving a lot of support from both fight fans and the general public, with many starting to warm up to him.
Ben or Eubank Jr.?
Ben. Yeah, Ben. It's funny because Chris talks about being a villain. I think Chris is getting a lot of love. You know, you read the comment section, you listen to the opinions of people, and I think people are starting to warm to Chris.
Reinforcing this shift in perception, according to Oladipo, a more entertaining side of Eubank has been emerging, with moments like the now infamous egg slap adding to the spectacle. He described the slap as a brilliant promotional move, stating that the 100,000-pound charge placed on retaliation acted as a deterrent, but also fueled even more interest in the fight. In his view, that single moment has played a major role in selling the fight, ensuring that plenty of fans will be tuning in on fight night.
I think we're starting to see a funnier side of him. I think the egg slap thing was fantastic. It was. I think the British Boxing Board of Control charging him 100,000 for it's excessive. It's not like he has any previous, you know. If this was a Derek Chisora, okay, makes sense because you've done so much before. But where they plucked 100,000 from,
it's a deterrent.
It is, but £100,000 deterrent.
Well, come on.
It sold the fight.
Yeah, I mean,
it sold the fight.
Adding another perspective to the discussion, promoter Eddie Hearn weighed in on the controversy surrounding the egg slap, aligning with Chris Eubank Sr.'s view that the world has become desensitized. Hearn stated that in reality, you don't just hit someone with an egg, but he acknowledged that younger audiences might find humor in it. However, he raised concerns about moments like these going viral, questioning whether such incidents should be seen as entertainment and whether kids should even find them amusing in the first place.
What Eubank Sr. said, which is 100% right, the world has changed where that's acceptable, because the world has become so desensitized to stuff. A little slap round the face with an egg, what's wrong with that? Do you know what I mean? Well, I don't like, I'm more, I mean, he's older school than me, but I'm still old school to the level of you just don't do that. But I get like kids find it funny and like it goes viral, but should it go viral and should kids find it funny?
Building on this stance, Hearn further emphasized the importance of upholding discipline and respect in boxing, particularly at the grassroots level. He pointed out that if the sport is to teach values like respect, manners, and what is right or wrong, then it's crucial to set the right example. In this case, he believes the British Boxing Board of Control acted firmly by imposing a 100,000-pound fine on Eubank Jr. for the incident. According to Hearn, such measures reinforce the message that actions like the egg slap are not acceptable in a professional setting.
If we're trying to talk about grassroots boxing and what's right and wrong and discipline and respect and manners, you've got to show people that's not acceptable. And that's where the board have acted strong. But Eubank Sr. is right.
Shifting the focus to another fiery exchange, things got heated as Eubank Jr. addressed a tense moment involving Conor Benn's father, Nigel Benn, who was seen putting his hands on him at the press conference. While Eubank Jr. acknowledged that he and Conor are set to fight, he made it clear that if anyone else were to lay hands on him, there would be consequences. Conor retaliated against this stance.
You're just upset.
Me and you
your
are
dad
fighting.
Can't stand you. And
I'm
my
not
dad has
upset.
my back. You are. That's all that
I'm not
was.
upset.
My dad put
Me and you are
his
fighting.
hands
Whatever
again. What are you
happens
gonna do
between
about it?
us
My dad would put his arms around you. Again. What are you going to do about it?
No one
What are you
else.
going to do about it? Tell me. What
No
you done
one
behind
else
his
can
back?
touch
Tell
me.
Tell
And
me.
if they do, there'll be
Tell me.
consequences.
Consequences to what?
If
What,
anyone
I was to
else-
slap you right
if
now?
anyone-
What, if I was to slap you
if
right
anyone
now,
else
what are you gonna
touches
do?
me.
What, if I was to slap you right now, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, go on, go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, talk about my dad.
I'm not talking
Talk
about your
my
dad.
No, no, no.
But
you
I
talk
told
about
him.
you. Yeah, but
I
you should-
told
you should
him.
Get off me, please. I won't
My
do
old man
nothing.
would
I won't
never
do
touch
nothing.
you, so your old man's never going to
But
touch
I'll
me.
never slap you.
This fueled the animosity even further when Conor Benn attempted to lunge at Chris Eubank Jr. Furious over comments about his father, Benn insisted that he had never disrespected Eubank Sr. and demanded the same in return. Eubank Jr. quickly fired back, stating that Benn couldn't dish out trash talk without being able to take it in return. The heated exchange saw both men locked in a serious back and forth, but after a brief moment of chaos, they eventually settled back into their seats, keeping the intensity simmering ahead of their showdown.
Yes, you
understand?
would. You disrespected him before.
What, the fact that he don't like you? It's a matter of fact.
Okay, well,
That's
it's
a
disrespect.
matter of fact. How's that
You
disrespect?
can't give it and not take it.
You f***ed up by talking about my dad. You done f***ed up talking about my
touching
dad.
me, and you up by taking
Yeah,
this
yeah,
fight.
yeah.
That's right.
Doubling down on his warning, Eubank Jr. added to his stance, stating that Nigel Benn is free to do as he pleases, but he felt the need to issue a warning. He made it clear that if Nigel Benn were to put his hands on him again, he wouldn't be getting that hand back, emphasizing that there are limits to what he will tolerate outside the ring, especially since his fight is with his son and not him.
To let him know that it can't happen
And
again.
what would you do if he did that again?
I said he wouldn't get his hand back if he
And what
puts it
meaning
on me.
what?
What does that mean?
It means what it means.
Well, tell me what that
What?
means.
I said it.
He wouldn't get his hand back. What are you going to do? Cut it off?
He wouldn't get the hand back.
What does that mean?
I don't need to say anything more.
Chris, come on. You got to explain what that
I
means.
don't have to do
You tell
anything,
him-
He's being clever again.
You
I
tell
made-
a man
I
he's
made
not
the
going to have his
statement.
hand back. Why?
I made the statement, and that's it.
Highlighting the magnitude of the showdown, Matchroom Boxing CEO Frank Smith weighed in on the significance of the fight, stating that this is the biggest bout in both Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr.'s careers. He emphasized that beyond the personal rivalry, this matchup is also the most financially rewarding fight for both men, making it a high-stakes event inside and outside the ring.
And it's completely irrelevant what I think. I've always said, about that fight, it's the biggest fight for both of them. Makes the most money for both of them. Fair play. It's a tough sport. You want to go and do the things that deliver you the best possible opportunities, and that's the one. And I've always said that. I'd say it personally, I'd say it in business.
Shedding light on the journey behind the fight, Frank also revealed the effort it took to bring this fight to life, stating that he has spent the last 3 years working to make it happen. He emphasized that whenever he was asked about a fight he wanted to see in the sport, he never hesitated to push for Benn versus Eubank Jr. Calling it a massive event and spectacle, Smith expressed his excitement that the fight is finally set, acknowledging the hard work that went into making it a reality. With April 26th at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium locked in, he promised that it would be a night fans would never forget.
Yeah, but look, like I say, I've spent the last 3 years working on it, and I've never tried to, I've always said that's the fight I wanted to make. In the sport, whenever I was asked, I never shied away from it. It's a huge event. It's a huge spectacle. It's going to be a massive moment. So yeah, I'm buzzing for it, and I'm glad we finally got it done. Because it took years. Well, there was obviously lots of things that happened, but it took a lot of work and a lot of effort, and it's going to be a great night.
Turning to a more personal matter, Eubank Jr. also addressed the ongoing discussions about his relationship with his father, Chris Eubank Sr. He acknowledged the tensions between them, stating that his father needs to overcome whatever personal struggles he is facing. According to Eubank Jr., his fight with Conor Benn could play a role in that process. He believes it could either help his father move past those issues or, unfortunately, make them worse. He admitted that he isn't sure how things will unfold, but expressed hope that Senior would be in his corner on fight night.
He needs to be able to get over whatever demons he's fighting. Now, this fight, it's either gonna enable him to get over those demons, or unfortunately, it's gonna make those demons grow. I don't know. I still hope he's there on the night, just like his old man will.
Reaffirming his determination, Eubank Jr. added that he will make efforts to get his father to attend the fight, but ultimately, the decision is out of his hands. Regardless of whether Eubank Sr. is present or not, he made it clear that he will step into the ring and get the job done.
And I will do things to try and get him there, but if he isn't, guess what? I'm still going to go out there and do the job.
Diverting the focus to the dangers of the sport, Conor Benn acknowledged the risks that come with boxing. He stated that with every opponent he faces, he throws punches with full intent, but that's simply the nature of the game. According to Benn, all fighters step into the ring fully aware of what they have signed up for, understanding that their lives are always on the line.
Every single person I fight, I hit with bad intentions. It's the name of the game. We know what we're in for. We know what we've signed up for. Our life's always on the line. That's our choice.
Clarifying his perspective, he emphasized that while boxing is a brutal sport, the goal is never to ruin someone's life. Instead, fighters train relentlessly to be the best athletes they can be, with the ultimate objective being to defeat their opponent, not to cause lasting harm.
You know, ultimately we prepare extremely hard. We're elite athletes. We do the best we can. But the end goal is to never ruin someone's life. Our goal is to go in there and beat the other man.
Offering his take on the fight, Liam Smith weighed in on the highly anticipated matchup, stating that he would not be surprised by either outcome. However, when pressed for a prediction, Smith leaned slightly in favor of Eubank Jr., believing that he has the edge to win on points.
I wouldn't be surprised either outcome, but I'll edge towards Chris on points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lean towards Chris and points.
Yeah.
Expanding on his prediction, Liam explained his reasoning, pointing out that size could be a key factor in the fight. He noted that Benn is naturally the smaller fighter, which could give Eubank Jr. an advantage throughout 12 rounds.
Just size-wise, Conor's small. Yeah, I think Chris might rob a punch win, if that makes sense. I think he'll jab, I think he'll be cagey on.
Analyzing Eubank Jr.'s evolution, Liam also noted that Eubank Jr. is not the same fighter he once was. While he used to be known for his ferocity and aggressive style, Smith believes Eubank has become more calculated in the ring. He described him as a cagey fighter with a high work rate, someone who uses his jab effectively and ties up his opponents to disrupt their rhythm. In Smith's view, this approach will make it difficult for Benn to find openings and impose his game plan.
I think that's a style now. You know, he's not the Chris of old where everyone makes out he's fucking loves a fight and ferocious and got this big high work rate. I think he's very cagey, jabs and holds a lot, and I think he won't give Conor a chance in that.
Commenting on the egg slap incident, Liam also weighed in on the now famous egg slap, admitting that he found it amusing, but only because it involved an egg. He explained that if it had been a bottle of water or a tomato, it wouldn't have had the same effect. The humor, he said, came from the backstory behind the incident, as those familiar with the controversy surrounding eggs and Benn's failed drug test could appreciate the irony. Smith found it clever how the egg was worked into the moment before being splattered on Benn's face.
Yeah, the egg I thought was funny because it was an egg, nothing else. You know, if it was a bottle of water, if it was a tomato, it wouldn't have been funny. It was funny because us in boxing know the story behind the eggs, so I thought it was quite funny how he got the egg in there and, you know, the way it splattered on his face. But
moving on, when the topic of shaking hands was brought up, Conor Benn was quick to say that he would have no problem doing so. However, Chris Eubank Jr. immediately shut down the idea, making it clear that now is not the time for pleasantries.
Would you shake hands together now?
Yeah, of course I would.
No. This is not a time to be cordial.
Eubank stated that if there ever comes a day when Benn fully admits to his drug use and explains why it happened, then he might consider a handshake. Until that moment, he made it clear that no respect would be given, firmly dismissing any notion of reconciliation.
If there's ever a day that he comes clean about what happened and why it happened, why he failed those drugs tests, then we can talk about shaking hands. Until that time, no respect will be given to this kid.
With tensions at an all-time high, the rivalry between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn shows no signs of cooling down. As fight night approaches, the bad blood continues to fuel what promises to be an explosive showdown. If you're hyped for this fight, hit that like button, drop a comment, and share it with your crew. Stay locked in with Boxism. Subscribe now for all the latest fight updates, breakdowns, and knockout news.